This is Mark Evan Jackson from everything. You're listening to NetHeads.
Hit me!
Episode 293.
You've got to throw some cold water on this situation. Start talking about nerd stuff.
You know, nerd culture is mainstream now, so when you use the word nerd derogatorily, it means you're the one that's out of the zeitgeist.
System activate.
This is NetHeads with Will Wilkins and Trent Hunsaker. It's a tech podcast. But we are a ton cooler than your typical geek.
You guys rock.
And now, here's Will and Trent.
No one listens to the radio. I wasn't even listening. I was listening to podcasts. Podcasts are great. Radio's boring.
Oh boy, it's been a while, Trent.
Hot second or two.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, folks, welcome. Another edition of NetHeads. I already said his name. My name is Will.
Yeah, I'm Trent.
You sure as hell are, sir.
Yeah.
You're looking very Trenty tonight, too. I want you to know that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. If you want to take part in the program, you can. One of many ways. One of them. Wow, I almost sounded like Frankenfurter from Rocky Horror there for a second.
One of them.
One of them. In anticipation. Hey. Anyway, that was embarrassing. One of many ways you can. One of them, the one we pay attention to the most, Twitter. Trent, tell them how to do that.
Yeah. Be like stalwart net header. Ash Williams, use the hashtag NetHeads, or call it a pound sign if you're in the United States, a hash mark or of other sorts, not like the hashish mark. I think that's I'm not down to know what that one is, but use the hashtag NetHeads and chime into the show. Let us know how we did afterwards. Tell us how we were wrong, or this, that, and the other. Hashtag NetHeads.
Yes, hashtag NetHeads. You can also sorry.
I was just gonna say. I mean. It's the one I pay attention to the most, but there is another way that is more commanding of our attention, right? When they use it, because it's very difficult to ignore.
Oh, if it happened, are you talking about the phone?
Yeah, or Skype.
Oh yeah, that Skype, yeah. NetHeads on air. I mean, it's YakBet9020 if you want to try and dial that out. I like saying YakBet9020 because in a way we're almost not encouraging people to use it.
Yeah, because they're like, because who has a T9 anymore to even know what it is?
Yeah, seriously. But actually, if you look, I think if you look at most apps on your mobile device, if you're able to pull up a keypad, you are not only that, but I think in Android,
it is.
You can actually, when you go into the number area. If you were to somehow pull up a keyboard or you were to paste in a word, it would dial the appropriate numbers. Because Androids is smart, right?
Droid.
Yeah. Oh, I missed that.
Me too, man. That was I love that branding. And it was only around for like 2 years. And then I don't know what happened. They got scared of them.
Nah,
you can't use that anymore. We own it.
They probably, I think it's because they didn't want to pay Lucas anymore for the licensing.
Well, that's what I was going to say. When the mouse purchased they didn't want to pay that licensing fee. Yeah,
that could be it. Plus, I think, in the future, it's going to be all Disney and Google anyway. So they're like,
oh, yeah,
we got a dividing line here. Yeah. And that's one of the things I didn't realize with the Fox purchase. By doing that, I think now Disney owns a majority ownership in things like Hulu. So, even though NBC is a partner there,
that makes total sense. Yeah, because the people that bought Hulu originally it was like Fox, Time Warner, and NBC.
Yes,
and ABC. So now they're. Yeah, majority holder. Makes sense.
Yeah, but CBS is like, we got an app.
Yeah, they're like, use our app. We'll make content just on it, so you have to use it.
I think. But they're still geniuses because they're like, let's just shove some Star Trek on there, and everybody's gonna watch that. Yeah,
they like Star Trek.
They do. You know what else they like, Trent? They like Marvel movies. And this morning,
my gosh.
I don't know what. Actually, I'll be interested to hear. Let's tell a story from two perspectives, shall we? Because look, let's be very upfront about it. For me, it's a priority getting to the movies. For you, movies are a luxury that you eventually get to.
Yes. And it's taken a while, but when you get to that point where you're totally cut off from most of the world, everything is new the first time you see it. For example, a good friend of mine gave me a digital download for Into the Spider-Verse. The tears, man, just tears roll. Like, I knew when all the points I was gonna cry, and I still cried. Will,
I got to tell you,
freaking amazing.
And I have to tell, all 5 of our diehard NetHeads fans, my apologies that there wasn't more than one show last month, but literally, Spider-Verse came out on video on the 19th. I got the video, and it was like the day before my birthday. We always seem to do a show around my birthday. Also discovered, by the way, March 18th, 2010 was the date of the phone call in the last episode. If you didn't listen to 292, that was actually the first time Trent ever called me. That's how this almost 10-year relationship began. Yeah. I don't know how you've done it, sir, but neither here nor there. And I'll tell you, I literally, after I dropped that show before I went to the airport, I literally put it together that morning, went to the airport, and while I was waiting for the plane to take off, after feverishly delivering a music track to somebody, I quickly did a Google search based on what I had heard in the call, determined, okay, so I said it was Lost, it was near my birthday on Saturday, Lost aired on the 18th, so I found out the date of that. I mean, it's amazing. You don't realize the dates that are important in your life until after the fact. Like there is a date that happens sometime in the calendar year after that. Well, not the calendar year. Sometime in the 12 months after that. That I don't know what that date was. It was a very important date because I was on a commuter train and I got a tweet or a message of some type out of nowhere saying, hey, I've hired this radio producer guy. I was wondering if you could talk to him. And that's the phone call that in many ways changed my life as well. Just like taking a job in a tuxedo shop in a mall led to me meeting wife. You never realize the important dates and the important things until after they happen. That neither here nor there. The whole point is I don't know when the hell I went to got a special phone call or a special message, and that one is gone to me. But the other special phone call and message I got March 18th. Dialing it all back now.
Yeah.
March 19th, the discs arrives, and in case you guys are wondering why there seems to be this constant theme, it's because I get impatient. So when things come out on digital, if I can buy them on digital, but also secure the physical media for the future delivery, I'll do that. But what always happens is the version I get comes with a digital code, and even though I bought it digitally, nobody's cracking that bad boy open to take my digital cert out, right?
Exactly.
So if it's a kids movie, I'll tend to give those to my wife to disseminate amongst her friends. And when it's things like Marvel movies, or in this case Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, I'm like, dude, here's this code. And we were going to broadcast. Yep. We were going to record that day.
We were all set, ready to go on the 19th, the day before your and my father's birthday.
Correct. And I literally said, you know what, dude? No. This movie is so good. To hell with it. Yep. You watch this movie.
And, dude, I feel bad that, I wanted to see it. I always wanted to see it. It was never a not wanting to see it. I didn't know how good it was. Otherwise, why in the hell would I have waited? That makes no sense. Wait for that.
After the fact, I completely agree with you. But I too didn't rush out to see it. I ended up seeing it with my wife in the theater several weeks after, and it was just Spider-Man Homecoming for me was the benchmark of a perfect Spider-Man movie until I saw Into the Spider-Verse.
Yes. Yep.
Because at that point, then they literally gave us everything, and then what happens is, for me, it was an emotional journey of seeing that movie first and being amazed by the story, and then the second time I saw it, it was being amazed by the veritable work of art that it is, and then the third time I saw it, I realized that the love letter that it is to the medium of comic books.
Yes.
Right? It's just so it is so I made sure it was on the iPad before I flew to New Orleans because I knew I would want to watch that over and over again.
Sure.
And it's a good default. But anyway, so that's the reason why we didn't do a show. No, we're not talking about tech problems, so you can't, say, oh, it's a podcast trope.
But it is like you have a great hack for it though, right? Like buying the digital or buying the combo when the digital is released gives you the extra digital when it comes in the Blu-ray.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you got
that's such a good hack.
Well, especially if you want to share it with your buddy who, it's like, I know he hasn't seen the movie yet, so let's, and look at the shirt you're wearing. See, I
know, yeah.
Really ties the show together, my friend. So your general impression of the movie is just fantastic, right?
Just loved it. And I tell you what, man, an actor that is always remembered and everyone remarks on how good he is, but he's never like a go-to, like, oh, this is who I would cast in this or whatever. Liv Schreiber freaking knocks it out of the park as Kingpin, man. Like, so good. Like, that guy can freaking act to no end. And it blew me away at how good he was. Even the Nick Cage minor role, but still essential role was great. Just everything about where's
that wind coming from? Wherever I go, the wind blows.
like almost like a I don't know, just like a nod or wink at like the past like characters that he has played in superhero dumb. Like, so good.
Yeah, it just and his just the whole thing, the great joke of him being a a monochrome character and being mystified by the Rubik's Cube.
The Rubik's Cube. I haven't figured this out yet, but I will.
And my favorite thing too are just a lot of the things that also happen. I don't know why we're retelling Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse again, but like the moment Miles gets bited, the moment that happens,
yes,
and he goes through the transformation, as all young men do.
Right.
Then suddenly, his thought bubbles are the yellow dialogue boxes in the movie. You've got the color shift from off-printing of the red and when things are supposed to be out of focus. That was a beautiful stylization. And also a lot of like the sound effects being represented, right down to even Mark Bernardin mentioned this one too. Right down to the fact when Miles throws a bagel and it hits a guy in the head, and instead of like the thwip with an exclamation mark, and it's so tiny, like you have to have seen this on the big screen to even read the words or get up on your TV where it just says bagel. It's just.
Oh yeah, like where it hit the head. Like,
Moink. Exactly. Yeah. And there's other things too. I didn't even notice this. Somebody else on Twitter pointed this out, but it was a picture of when they're walking through Alchemex's cafeteria and they realize it's Spider-Man. All of these people instantly come into action to pull out guns except one woman who's sitting at the table who's just like, ugh, 'cause she's like, I can't get through this without my coffee. And so she's doing this and grabbing her cup. You'll notice her next time and thank me for that.
I will.
Anyway, but Spider-Verse aside, Trent, what a frickin' day, man. Today has just been a day of interesting suck. I don't know how this information gets out. I don't know how these things come down the pipeline, but somehow it kind of became general knowledge that today Avengers Endgame tickets would go on pre-sale, all right?
Yes, yep.
So this is where I want to tell a story of two perspectives because for me, there's the irrational, obsessive-compulsive who is infuriated because somehow... And I understand why. I've blown a lot of flack on Twitter to AMC theaters, but I don't think it's fair. I'll get back to that in a minute.
Okay.
I knew the tickets were going on sale at 5. Somebody, I don't remember who said, but they're like, 5 a.m. tomorrow. But I figure I live, on the outskirts of the suburbs. I knew I was able to get Captain Marvel tickets a week later, so I'm not going to stress about it. I'll buy them when I get up at 6, right?
Yeah.
And I go online, and first I just try to use the app, and it's not working. I got to seat selection, purchase, something went wrong. I'm like, well, that's crap. So then I go to the computer, and I sit down, and I try and do it again through Adam, because I've got a coupon like a gift certificate that Emily won. So I'm like, I'm riding movies for free as long as I can on that.
Yeah.
And again, trying to purchase nothing. So then I go to Fandango, and Fandango puts me in a queue, and it's like, you're in line for your ticket. Well, you'll have 20 minutes as soon as you're there. Your current wait time, more than an hour. I'm like, what the ever live in hell?
Nope, unacceptable.
So then I figure, okay, screw these guys.
Yes.
I'm an AMC Stubs member. I'll go to AMC. I'll just buy the tickets through them. Because when Emily and I went to go see Captain Marvel, which, by the way, have we even talked since Captain Marvel came out?
We have, but I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah.
You might. I'm just saying you might want to, Trent.
Yes. I'm fixing to.
All right. Well, you fix a little harder, my friend. Especially before April whatever, when you go see the movie. Which I don't look. I'm sorry. Like, even Denise said to me, my beautiful wife, earlier today, said to me, "Why does it matter? The movie will still be there a week later or a few days later." And I'm like, I don't want anybody to spoil it for me. To which her response is, "Well, just don't read the internet." And I'm like, what?
Not gonna. Excuse me, baking powder?
You said words. I know they were words. They're meant to convey something, but I just can't comprehend what those words are meaning right now.
Right, yeah.
So anyway, the one thing, the long and short of it, too late, is that AMC basically collapsed under the pressure of pre-sale tickets. But I understand why now. It isn't because, so much because of the demand of Avengers Endgame, which I think is part of it. I think this was an unprecedented and unpredicted event for them. And this is now a world where they are attempting to sell tickets through their own website, sell tickets through Atom, and sell tickets through Fandango. There was
as well, yeah.
There was even a special look trailer that dropped today in honor of ticket sales going on. And at the very end, it says, buy advance tickets now. And it's right at the bottom, Atom, Fandango. So every one of those things is trying to coordinate at once, and AMC's infrastructure just collapsed. Either that, or one of those is the prime. One of them, doesn't matter which one, but one of the three is the primary, and everyone else has to communicate with that. What I was trying to say with Captain Marvel is, when we went to that, I bought tickets through Atom. Somebody else bought tickets through the AMC website, and somehow they had double sold one of our seats.
What?
Thankfully, nobody claimed the seat next to me, so Emily and I just moved one over each.
That's nice of you.
Yeah, but still, it's like my kid is like, I'm not liking this. This is uncomfortable and awkward. Why are we going through this? I'm a teenager, and now you're embarrassing me, Dad.
Yeah,
kind of
Dad.
thing.
God.
Yeah, it's like, look, I got the thing, and the whole time the argument is going on, I'm trying to load my purchase, and naturally nothing's cached, so I gotta wait in shitty reception trying to show this guy, no, I bought the tickets.
No, I promise.
Are you
How
in the
else
right?
would I be here?
And of course you get accused. I'm like, no, I bought the tickets. Are you in the wrong theater? It's got to be you.
Yeah.
It's not me.
Yeah.
Just STE Boost or Steve Erdley on Twitter says, just don't read the internet. Has your wife even met you? Yeah, she has, but
it's interesting because this is not a problem unique to this event, but it is a problem with just online ticket sales in general. There is a startup wrestling promotion that is kind of taking the world by storm. The All Elite Wrestling, kind of bringing people in from a lot of different areas. Their debut show is going to be in Vegas at the MGM Grand. Great location. And when tickets went on sale, I had two friends that were waiting to purchase, and the site just broke completely. Did not work anymore. For anyone who had a life to get back to and work to get back to, they just missed out, and that was it. Like,
dude. And I completely get it, because wrestling events or concerts, these things
totally. Yeah.
I comprehend.
Well, yeah, because the demand is so minimal, right? Like there are so many people fighting over so few seats. that yeah, you're gonna flood a server very quickly.
Yeah, exactly. And for those type of events, I get it. But in this case, it was like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
Now, and the thing that I'm disappointed in myself in is that, at the point, I understand internet infrastructure. I understand, scalability, servers, availability, denial of service attacks, overloading things. I get all of that, requests per million, per minute, or per second. I get the whole bit. Why I didn't relax and just come to the realization, well, if nobody can buy them, nobody's buying them. So settle down.
Yeah.
Right? But I didn't do that, Trent. It was like I was
It's like you had a structured settlement and you needed cash now.
Exactly. Go ahead, sing the jingle again.
Call J.G. Wentworth. 877 cash now.
It wasn't necessarily that bad, but it was definitely obviously I was just and I'm not the only, obviously I'm not the only person that was affected, but there are people too. Like Michael Donahue on Twitter, I exchanged tweets with him. It took him 14 hours to finally get a ticket. And the thing too is that I was contemplating actually leaving my house and going to the theater.
Yeah.
Saying, "Can I buy a ticket, please?"
Yeah.
But I think this is just a case of they didn't anticipate the number of requests they would get given the number of sources that were selling tickets.
And and there's a scale, like a cost thing involved as well. Like if you have to put that much effort into beefing up the ticket sales, or like the capacity for these ticket sales for things that are already limited and are going to sell regardless, right? There's no real incentive to put that much back end work into it, right? Like if it crashes, it crashes. They're all still gonna sell.
Yeah, good point. Right? Yeah, that's, you know what I mean. That is an excellent point.
So if I'm looking at it as as a business owner or putting the cost into it, sorry you had a really shitty experience. We're not gonna change our hardware so that this one thing can sell for this very one day, because 3 days later you could just go into a theater and get tickets and see it. Like, you're all still gonna see it.
Yeah, exactly. We're selling these muffins anyway. It's like Girl Scout cookies. They're not worried about moving them, right?
No, they're going to sell.
We got no worries. So, yeah, I understand that. And two, I don't think they predicted, because, if you think about it, using the same comparison you did, with a wrestling event, you've got a finite amount of seats in a given location. Right. So maybe you're getting attacked by a geographical focus.
Yeah.
In this case, they just got crushed under the demands per second because of the pure volume of seats and purchasability out there. It was almost it's like the exact opposite problem, but further compounded.
Yep.
So, I understand, and I'm, obviously the moment I had my tickets, I was over it.
Good old instant gratification.
I can breathe now. I've got tickets. Although it was the one thing that I did experience with this, I didn't used to be really big on the whole IMAX thing, right? Until I think we went to go see Into the Spider-Verse on IMAX. And that was finally the time where because I had good seats. And the theaters, the sound in the theater was just amazing, and the expanded screen was filled very nicely. It was just a wonderful experience. So then I'm like, oh, I'm going all IMAX all the time now. Because of all the debacles, the IMAX thing didn't work out. So now I was going to be, I had the choice between 3D or standard. And again, I'm buying my tickets on somebody else's dime. So I actually opted this time to do the special fan event. Which, they're going to, I don't know, I think they're saying, you could win giveaways, which means if the theater remembers, maybe they'll give something away.
Right. Well,
and in this case.
And what is the giveaway? Oh, we've got some keychains, some AMC keychains left over.
Yeah. but everyone that's in attendance does get a commemorative coin. So I'm like, well, that's
like a challenge coin type.
exactly.
Thing.
So I'm like,
that's
well,
cool.
Yeah, that's kind of cool, and a free drink. So I figure with the $5 $4 difference,
yeah,
a coin and a drink, that more than makes up for it,
yeah,
right?
for sure. Yeah.
As long as I'm going to be stuck in standard anyway. And in this case, I was able to get the kind of seats that my daughter likes too, which is the very back of the theater, so there's nobody behind you, right?
I am of that ilk. Not. Yes, I like to be far back. Sometimes I'll go to the very back. I'm not opposed to sit on the very last row.
Yeah, especially in the case of these AMC theaters near me. And I don't know how many you have in the Cache Valley, but it is the Cache Valley, right?
It is the Cache Valley.
Hey, very good. Hey, didn't kill all the brain cells yet.
No.
I really like the back row there because you also get more legroom because there is more space. And we actually tapped into that when we started going to the movie with kids. You know, because you get a little one, their attention isn't as into yours, and they're going to get down,
be able to do something,
move around between parents, and tap dance here and there, and you know, everything kids do. So I got the back seat. I'm going. I'm happy, and technically because it's the AMC fan event, it's 1 hour earlier before all the other shows. So 5 p.m. we get in there. And
nice.
Well, look, Trent, I'm taking my daughter. It's a school night. I'm being responsible.
Wow, I'm impressed.
Right? It's not responsible.
So you're seeing it. The 25th is a Thursday?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I will have before you get out of work.
Yeah, you will have already seen it.
I will have already seen the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. See, and I'll probably see it. Trying to think. Ticket. So that'll be the weekend after FanX. I'll probably see it that Sunday morning.
Oh, good. Good.
Yeah.
Then because you know all about us. If we happen to record, we could talk about it on Sunday. I know the way I love that this always structures out now, even though it hasn't panned out appropriately for my wife. And honey, I'm very sorry for this, because Emily loves going to the opening night stuff with me now, and Denise doesn't like big crowds. So I always know that, like, for these movies, I'm going to get to see them twice.
What? Yep, totally. Yep.
Right? Because it's one visit with Emily, and then it's one trip with Denise. So
dude, like, talk about like a freaking rad tradition to have with a kid, right?
Yeah.
Like you know, in 40 years, there'll be stories of like, well, Grandpa would take me. Every time there was a movie that we were both excited to see, we would go on the day of. Sometimes it'd even take me out of school, and we'd go and see it. I mean, if that isn't reminiscent of someone else whose father used to do that with them to get out of school and go see movies, that's pretty rad, man.
Yeah, and you know it. Well, sometimes it can backfire on you because I ended up having to take my nieces to the midnight showing of what was the first Twilight movie? The Twilight. I had to go to Twilight, which there wasn't enough candy to get me through that one. But you know, they did. It's like cool Uncle Will take you. But now, and I did have to go see like the last two Hunger Game movies because Emily was heavily into the Hunger Games.
Cool, man.
So, yeah, she has those memories, and she even said that. Like, I think earlier, I'm like, well, I didn't get IMAX, but I did get the fan event. We'll get a coin. And listen to this, man. Doesn't this make you feel good? It's okay that it's not IMAX. We will still get to see it together.
Oh.
Right?
So cool. And not even that, like, and we'll still get to see it. Or, oh, well, at least we'll get the stuff with it. Or at least, we'll get to see it together. Like, that's... Yeah, kids are pretty honest when it comes to stuff like that.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Like, Dad, I don't want to see the movie. But yeah, we went to go see. We obviously Captain Marvel. We did see Infinity War.
Yeah.
So she's my go-to now. It's like we even went to see Guardians of the Galaxy 2, which was messed up because I did it on a Saturday night after they had done the whole school band thing at a park, and she fell asleep, unfortunately.
Oh, dang it!
That wasn't
responsible.
responsible.
I mean, that is incentive to see it again.
Exactly, right? Oh, darn. By the way, speaking of Marvel movies and awesome news, where do you stand on the fact that James Gunn has been reinstated as the director of Guardians of the Galaxy 3?
You know, maybe as I'm getting older, I'm just more jaded. Awesome, cool. for everyone that was upset about it, on both sides, right? Like,
no,
at the end of
don't.
the day,
Hey, don't start with that both sides bullshit.
oh yeah, there were some good arguments on good people on both sides.
No, don't do that.
No, like at the end of the day, it is a business, right? And so, wherever you stand on the moral justification of the firing or the hiring or the rehiring or whatever, at the end of the day, like, it's a business. It's going to get run like a business. And so there is definitely, I'm assuming okay, the heat has died down enough. We can, and we've tested it, and the consensus is we're not going to lose money if we bring him on, or now we're actually going to gain more money if we bring him back on. Yeah, for me, I just kind of see, like, a lot of it is just dollar signs. Like, do I think he not having him would have broken the franchise? No, absolutely not. Do I think Dave Bautista would have said, no, you can take your $10 million and shove it up your butt, because I'm not? No, he's not going to do that.
No, dude, I gotta disagree with you on just that one point. I really think he would have just passed on the third Guardians movie. I really do.
Really?
Yeah, because I don't know that he had. Well, no, that's not true. I think he did make a statement that he would contractually do what he was required to do.
Sure. Yeah.
But I don't think we would have gotten the same thing. You know, the whole point is that, you know, there are some times where we really just live in this bizarre era now where it is just trial by public opinion and
totally, dude.
Everything else. And really, we do all need to just stop and dial it back a little bit and relax a little. And really, I just view this as kind of a mistake being corrected. And I don't know that it would have happened if he hadn't said, okay, well, or if DC hadn't said, well, why don't you come over here and do Suicide Squad for us?
Sure, yeah.
At which point, you know, Marvel's like, wait a second, our go-to guy on the big group film is gone.
Of course, they could have said, look, James, we've just got to do this. We're going to make this announcement, sit on it for a few months, and then we're just going to say, oh, we're bringing him back so that everyone saves face on this, okay?
Yeah, I don't think that was it.
That's what I think probably happened.
I don't think so, or else he wouldn't have gone to DC, I don't think. Well, then again, we're all like, no, it's DC. It's a paycheck, bro. Come on.
Exactly, man. It totally is. It totally is. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I think if they had opted not to bring him back, the best thing they could have done would have been to mend the fence with Edgar Wright and brought him on to do the last installment, because he would have crushed it.
I wonder if they could do that. Because I don't know. I don't know the full story about Ant-Man. What went on behind Ant-Man? I really don't.
Yeah. Well, at least from what I don't even know where I've heard this, but whatever. Yeah, there were creative differences, blah, blah, blah. They went in to go in and start, you know, fixing everything. And then they realized, like, oh, no, Wright did this correctly. Let's just run with this.
Yeah, because
he's still listed as on all the credits for a lot of the stuff.
Yeah, and I really do think a lot of the story carried across. Like, definitely with the scene where they're battling in the briefcase, and I don't know if it was The Cure or somebody else playing. That was just pure Edgar Wright. And
totally.
But yeah, I would like to see what he would be able to do with another movie. But Captain Marvel, I would recommend seeing. I don't think it's. I have to admit, it's cool that it hit $1 billion. I love the way that these kind of offshoot movies are really crushing it at the box office.
Yeah.
But I mean, I did have some issues with the story when I was watching it, because there were certain points or certain beats that I think maybe I was supposed to connect to that I didn't. And that's just the way the cookie crumbles. But it was a great journey. I could still watch it again. And I'm hoping I get to take Denise to go see it this weekend, because now that I've got Endgame tickets in my pocket, I'm jonesing, man.
Yeah,
I'm jonesing.
You got to get your fix, baby.
So much so I was watching Civil War earlier. I'm jonesing, baby.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it's these offshoot ones I think are great as well, because they also give a chance for the non-Uber fan to feel like they're in on something without having to know all the minutia of what's happened in the past.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
That is very much true. Especially, yeah, because it gives you the ability to come in on a new narrative. And you don't need to know, like, you didn't need to know anything about the Guardians of the Galaxy to enjoy Guardians of the Galaxy. It was just a great movie.
Totally. Yeah, exactly. Right? And same with, like, the Ant-Man stuff. Like aside from, like, the last, the end credit scene of the Ant-Man and the Wasp, you don't even know anything about the rest of the Marvel Universe at all.
Oh God, man, dude, it's just, and that's why and I know I've said it before. I will say it again now. I'm now officially at the point I don't care what else they show us in the trailers. I don't believe you on anything, Marvel. I'm done. You've shown me some stuff. It's great. You've got my interest. It's going to be a story so complex I don't know how to follow it. I accept that. Don't give me anything else.
Yeah.
Although, you know, based on what we have seen so far, if we end up getting a movie that starts out with a gigantic battle sequence and then it cuts to 5 years earlier, I'm going to be really upset. I'm just saying. But there is the other reason to see Captain Marvel is because there is an end credit sequence that directly ties into what you've got to guess is just days or within days of the devastation or the snapping or whatever the hell they call it in the thing. So there is a scene that kind of directly brings Captain Marvel into
full circle,
Infinity or Endgame. So I would see it for that. The second credit sequence, just like Spider-Man: Homecoming, you know, and it seems like a lot of them now. Some of these credit sequences. Well, I guess it's kind of like the shawarma scene. You know, it's just like, well, that was interesting, but did I really need to keep holding my urine for this? You know what I mean?
The perfect example, the Howard the Duck scene, right? When are we gonna get Howard the Duck? When? Probably never.
Nope.
It was just a one-off thing that they thought would be funny.
Yeah, let's just throw this in. What the hell? No big deal.
Yep.
Trent, we've talked about a lot of crap I want to talk about, but something very interesting happened on Sunday. I was doing my typical watching of HBO. I had recently, by the way, for whatever reason, binged Barry on HBO.
Oh, it's so good.
I didn't know. Saturday, I had gotten to the season finale, and I didn't know whether to kick my own ass for not having watched it sooner or to pat myself on the back because the season premiere was the very next night.
Oh, nice. So it's for season 3 or is it season 2?
It's only been one season so far.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And it's an absolutely great show. And it's another one of those ones where it's kind of like I almost question my own morals because it's like I'm rooting for this guy who's a hitman.
Yeah.
I'm not here to talk about Barry though, Trent.
Who's clearly a sociopath.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh, and last thing on that, like, only solidifies my long-standing argument that Stephen Root is one of the greatest actors of this generation.
I completely agree. There isn't any part that guy can't play, especially when look Milton in Office Space, Jimmy John from News Radio. Think about his character in Jersey Girl, right? This just kind of downtrodden, typical small-town borough guy who's basically beat up upon by his friends verbally. Yep. He is a chameleon, is what he is.
Oh, I mean, let's talk about Sheriff Winan from Red State.
Oh God, yeah, that was
right. This guy has some crazy depth. He is such a good actor. Like King of the Hill plays multiple roles in it, and knocks Anyway, Barry's great. If you haven't seen it, check it out. But yeah.
Definitely
so anyway, you're watching it on HBO.
And
it's not TV. It's HBO.
I get through that, and then of course I'm like, oh great, perfect, because all my viewing is delayed by 30 minutes to an hour. But on East Coast, I'm like, perfect. Now it's time for John Oliver, and it's like, ooh, the Mueller report came out. I can't wait to hear this. But once again, it was just part of the stuff they have to talk about here. Right. And then the main news story took a complete left turn, and it made me so excited to sit down and talk to you.
Yep.
Because he focused on an issue that I was peripherally aware of because I used to be a Howard Stern listener, and they actually played a clip that I remember listening to
clip. Yeah,
with Jesse Ventura.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Because basically, what's his name? McMahon. What's his...
Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
Yeah, who plays a heel on air, and basically it seems like some people feel he's a heel off air as well.
IRL. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in order to use the wrestling terms. I know when I do that, your nipples get hard, so that's why
a little bit. Good thing I'm wearing a jacket, otherwise you'd see them.
Right now, if you could see underneath Spider-Man's hands, guys, that's all I'm saying.
It'd be like thwip.
So apparently, and I understood some of these elements from Jesse Ventura, but you know what? Me talking about this is like me trying to talk about auto mechanic stuff. It's pointless. I think this is a topic that is just ripe for you to bring up and educate us on, Trent. Because there's the story that Oliver presented in his show, which it will be interesting to see, because remember, Last Week Tonight with John Oliver has a lot of interesting history. They, through his own actions and requests, they were able to crash the FCC website.
Yep.
He had a Amazon #1 bestseller with the Marlon Bundo book.
Uh-huh.
Yep. They've been able to accomplish a lot of interesting things. And at the end of the story, he made a request as well. So all that said, I'm interested to hear your perspective on this story. And is there more to tell here?
It's so funny. I wake up Monday morning to 3 different texts from 3 completely independent fan people that don't have crossover in their social circles, being like, "Oh, dude, I'd love to hear what you have to say about this." And then people at work were like, what do you have to say about this, right? And it's so interesting because the micro expose they do, it hits people that are not that wrestling is not in their wheelhouse at all, right? Very interesting too that they chose to run this the week, 7 days before WrestleMania, their biggest show of the year. The 6th most valuable sports property in the world, right under the FIFA World Cup. It's insane. There is so much to unpack, and so much that he could have. It was good because he kind of had to fixate on one specific thing and go with it, right? And the main thing was the kind of the health aspect, what these guys are expected to do as non-employees, quote unquote non-employees, and a lot of it I think has been fixed to a good extent, as far as health requirements and if you're hurt, if you're injured, you can't perform this side or the other, because of the backlash that's happened. And I wish they would have they didn't even touch on this. Chris Benoit, who was a performer in the early 2000s, you can find it on YouTube. CNN did an awesome expose on him where he died, and WWE thought that he'd just died or whatever. So he died on a Sunday. On Monday, they do this big memorial thing. On Tuesday, it's released that he murdered his whole family and then killed himself.
Oof. Well, that doesn't really fit with the whole narrative of independent contractors with no health benefits being forced to do the excruciating body things as employees would be.
Yeah, exactly. And then this nonprofit organization that's doing research on concussions got a hold of Benoit's family and said, "We really want to study his brain. Will you allow us to do that?" Come to find out, his brain was just mashed potatoes at this point. From working and having had so many concussions and injuries that it could be said that the industry killed him and his family because of what it did to his brain. Scale it back even further, around the same time that Vince McMahon was being tried by a federal court for promoting steroid use with his performers, he was also waging a war in state courts to have professional wrestling deregulated, right? So up until this point, you had all professional wrestling fell under the same regulation as a boxing event, right? So it had to be commissioned by the state sports commission, and so his big thing was like, this isn't sports, and this is where he came up with the terms, this is sports entertainment. And so that's how he was able to skirt around that. The problem with that is once you take out like the regulation side, there's no like impartial doctor who has to be there to say that, yes, this person is physically sound and able to compete. And so that's a whole other thing as well. There has been so much, so many people, performers, talent have been angry about how they've been treated throughout the years that there's a huge surgence on the peripherals of professional wrestling in other promotions, Ring of Honor Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, New Japan Wrestling, even the Robert Rodriguez produced Lucha Underground. And so you've now got people who have become very successful, very wealthy, very famous, and have never even set foot in a WWE ring. And I think this is actually a good thing, for the people to realize, performers even, that this isn't the end all be all. Like Roddy Piper's era, if you wanted to make any money, you had to be in the WWE. You had to perform with the WWE. You're not going to make that for the $20 wrestling in, some bingo hall in your local area. It was the only way. Now there are other options for people to gain, money through it. Where else was I going? The one thing that I think he should have, that would have helped bring up his case, this is John Oliver's case, as how messed it is that they're called independent contractors. They're also in charge, since they're independent contractors, the company doesn't pay for any of their travel and accommodations. They'll pay for catering at the arena when they're there. So they film 2 times a week, and then there are 3 to 4 days other than that they're also performing in non-televised house shows. So these performers are working 250 days out of the year. And they have to pay for all their own travel, all their own lodging along the way. So yeah, they're making a ton of money, and this is a big deal. And people could say yeah, but they have the option to leave. They do, but they're wearing the golden handcuffs at that point, and they're not even that golden when you have to realize that oh, if I'm not wrestling because I'm injured, they're not going to pay me. If I'm not carpooling with someone everywhere we go, I'm losing that much more money at the end of it all. Very few, even in the WWE, very few people are at the John Cena level of fame and merchandise and everything else. That there are still guys who are not doing awesome. They're doing better than most, but anyway, I could talk about this for days. I could go on and on and on.
Well, the thing I don't understand about it is how they get away with these guys still being independent contractors. Because I know that, and this is definitely not a direct comparison, but, Microsoft came under extreme scrutiny because they had people that were quote unquote contractors, but the government ended up stepping in because they're like, no, you're expecting these people to do the exact same thing your employees do. They are not independent contractors.
Right.
So they should be getting the same benefits. And in this case, and that was one of the things actually John Oliver brought up too, is just what the definition of an employee is and what the definition of a contractor is and what the things these people do in order to fulfill more of the employee rather than the contractor side.
And it's super interesting too, because for a lot of these guys who have been their characters were born within the WWE, the performer has no right to that name or likeness at all. So you see this a lot for people that get fed up and leave. They have when they go and wrestle elsewhere, they're under a completely different name because the WWE owns that name and likeness, and that even to the point of that character, to where they can't use the mannerisms of the character they used prior, because that's the intellectual property of the WWE.
Yeah, like I think there was I could be wrong, but I believe the movie Walking Tall that starred Dwayne Johnson, that one he was able to be called Dwayne The Rock Johnson because it was a WWE production.
Exactly.
Or from their film house or what have you.
Yeah.
But when it comes to anything else, he is just Dwayne Johnson. You're not going to be referred to as The Rock.
You can't. No, because The Rock is a character. This is only furthered further through the Gawker case of Hulk Hogan, where he's saying that, like, oh, yeah, I went on Howard Stern, but as you'll know, I went on as Hulk Hogan. I never went on as Terry Boyer. And so that's how the defamation of Terry Boyer happened. Yeah, it's really messed up. I'm excited though, because, it is so messed up, and there has been such, the internet of life is so open now that, that there are now so many other options, and you'll see like this, All Elite Wrestling I was talking about earlier. This is the culmination of, Dusty Rhodes' son, Cody Rhodes, who performed in I can only call him Cody now because Cody Rhodes is the property of WWE. But he's working with some guys who have also never wrestled in the WWE before, and they're creating their own promotion. And their whole thing in kind of like their business plan is that they're not treating these people as independent contractors, that they are being treated as employees, but they're also able to like go and perform elsewhere at the same time if they'd like to, that their health care will be taken care of. And so, yeah, I it's awesome to see such a light being shined on this. It's also crazy to me to see how many wrestling nerds were very upset about what John Oliver had to say, because I thought John Oliver, to use wrestling terms, put wrestling over more so than anyone else ever has. Like, if you watch that segment and not think, man, wrestling, why am I not watching wrestling? This looks freaking fun. This looks so much. What he had a quote in there. I've used it so many times in the 2 days since he said it, is, yes, that's right. Wrestling is better than the thing that you like.
Yeah. And the thing too is that I got the genuine feeling he wasn't just saying that to play up to the crowd. I think he does genuinely get entertainment out of it. And it's true. It is a very well structured, very engaging form of entertainment. Obviously, you as a now 30-something-year-old man still thoroughly enjoy it. You have watching parties, big event for you. You know, and it's ever present in so many people's lives. Even like me, I'm able to, on the periphery, pick up things. And so it'll be interesting to see, because at the tail end of this piece, he did openly encourage the fans to kind of become vocal at WrestleMania, but I wonder how much that's going to actually play out. It'll be interesting. Yep. So you'll have to fill me in, because I won't be watching.
I will for sure. It'll be very interesting. And the WWE they are hyper conscious of their brand. At the Royal Rumble in January, there was a guy who had a front row seat. This is pretty messed up. They made him take his shirt off and put on a different shirt because he was wearing a T-shirt of this promotion that hasn't even had its first show yet, All Elite Wrestling. Mm-hmm. So that's how aware they are of their brand. Like, even to the points where if fans are not cheering the way they want them to cheer, they will on the television broadcast, they'll put in a different audience audio.
Oh wow! So
it's bizarre, man. It is so bonkers and weird.
Well, yeah. Plus, you know what? They also control the camera, so regardless of what sign you may make, that doesn't mean you're going to necessarily see it, and you may not even get it in the door unless you're smuggling it in under your shirt.
And the ushers will just come and take signs down. They'll just take them away from you, like, all the time.
So I think this is the first time we're probably not going to see the Oliver effect in play. I really think it's not going to happen.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. I'm pretty sure you're right.
But again, though, I think it's great, though, because it does expose the problems to an audience that, unless you're like super inside baseball, would never even know that these things existed in the first place as problems.
Yeah, definitely. But because like I said, I wasn't even a wrestling fan, but I was aware of some grievances that existed in the industry.
And that Howard Stern clip in particular is so interesting because to hear Jesse Ventura wanting to create a union is ideologically mind-boggling, because he is the most ardent libertarian out there. and for him to
he's also a whack job.
Well, you're not wrong.
Okay. He also had a show about that kind of, I don't want to say supported conspiracy theories, but they would focus on a topic, and yeah, he's nuts. That's all I'm saying.
These ideologies they aren't mutually exclusive, Will.
Yeah, exactly. Good point. Fair enough. Trent, I hate to pivot away on a good topic, but unfortunately
it's
we
important.
are.
There is, yes.
Well, no, I don't think this is important, because there's
It is to me.
It's a topic that's very finite that can be talked about. But I did make mention that before I released last show, and I mentioned it in the last show, had a unique opportunity, which I have to admit, and my wife would ask, why exactly is it you want to do this? And I don't mean that in a dumbfounding way, but I mean realistically, if you step back and you're like, well, why are you going to do this? Long and short of it is, and a lot of people got to do this. There was an open casting call for a little movie you may have heard about called Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. And I had the opportunity to get invited to go and spend a day on set. And I'm so thankful, not only for the opportunity, but the day I did, for many reasons that I cannot talk about until the movie comes out.
Correct.
But I was most motivated because I really wanted to see Kevin Smith direct. I wanted to see him on a set. And so the long and short of it is I literally made a 48-hour trip to New Orleans. I landed 3:30 on Sunday, and I flew out at 4:15 on Tuesday. That was it, my friend.
Yeah.
And I will say, too, the weird thing is that the whole 737 MAX grounding issue ended up changing my travel plans by a few hours, but thankfully I was able to book direct flights because of the changes. I had flights canceled on both legs of my trip, and they're like, well, sorry about that, but here, pick another flight the same day. I'm like, well, in that case, let's get the direct flight that I didn't want to pay for before. Yeah. And I was using points too, so that's the only reason why I was able to pull this whole thing off. So I did go to New Orleans. It was an amazing experience. It was really interesting, too. I had never been involved in something like this before. And, just to kind of set the tone, you get an email and it tells you what your call time is as a background player. I was just background, by the way. I don't have lines. No, you're not gonna hear my voice in this movie unless there's some type of VO I can sucker my way into, which I highly doubt. So it was strictly background. But I will say, well, let me get the day first. So there's the call time, and naturally I'm in New Orleans. I'm nervous. I get up hours before. I show up an hour before my call time. And by the way, too, I ended up walking everywhere I could because I'm in New Orleans. I'm afraid of eating food and getting fat. And I somehow went to New Orleans and lost 0.3 pounds. I don't know how.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, I don't think you're supposed to be able to do that eating catfish and po' boys and that kind of thing.
Oh,
right?
Sounds so good.
I don't think you're supposed to be able to do puppy. Sorry. So your dog's walking around behind you. I'm not just randomly yelling puppy at you for no reason.
Yeah. No, it's good.
So glad to hear that, Will, because I'm not your puppy. So
Who you call him puppy?
And then it was interesting too because there was base camp, and so you go and you check in, and then they basically say, okay, well, what are you going to wear? Because we were kind of in the Hollywood. He's tweeted about this or Instagrammed it, so I can talk about this. There was kind of like a convention in the movie, and it's the Hollywood Chronic Con.
Right.
And so we were attendees there, and by we I mean there was myself and. Unlike any other time I had gone, I wouldn't have known anyone. But in this case, there was a group that referred to themselves as the Smod Squad, and they've frequented the Scum and Villain Cantina for events, and as a group they're kind of known. One of them you've probably seen Kevin tweet about, which is Brian Stoner. By the way, real last name, not a Twitter handle.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I just want to clarify that. So it was him. It was Jamie, who, if you've ever watched Fat Man Beyond, she's the woman wearing cat ear headphones that light up. There was Jimmy Vertivek and his wife. There was Nate Gonzalez, the Dark Nate. He's the guy that does a lot of the poster work as well, like for Babel and other things. There was also his friend Evie, and then Chris Davies, I think is his name. But the one that, and this is going to sound funny, that I'm like, oh, the one that blew me away. But I don't know if you remember the guy who has been tweeting us for almost a decade now, ever since NetHeads started. His internet handle is Vaca Boca. And,
oh, yeah.
And I think it's Sean, and his last name starts with an H. Sorry, Sean, it's late at night for me. Hogarty, something along those lines. I met him, too. He was rolling with Chris. They have actually their own fandom podcast as well. Fan Men, I think is the name of it.
Yeah.
I'm tagged in a reference for it so you can see it because they did mention me on theirs, too. So, like and like. But I really should have taken notes and prepared some shit instead of like, oh, what's their name doing that? I'll never learn my lesson. So I got to hang out with them, and so it was nice because I wasn't just like awkwardly riding solo and wondering what to do.
Right, yeah.
And so you go to base camp, and then you get shuttled over to the location where we were shooting at that day, which was a theater. It was interesting because we go up to extra holding. They had a tent for the voluminous number of people they had before, but for this instead there was upstairs kind of in a lounge for extras. If you want to know your place as a background player, it's not like the extras lounge. It's not like extra seating. It's extras holding. Okay.
Yeah. It's like you're in a holding pen because you're cattle.
Exactly. That's what you are. And admittedly, I've been doing work for Kevin one way or another for 8 years, and I will admit that there was part of me that the only reason why I didn't necessarily want to go is because ego-wise,
yeah,
I was afraid that I would just be like anyone else, right? I freely admit that. It's a shortcoming. I admit it. And so we got taken up to extras holding, and I was sitting there with the group and everything else, and I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm just gonna be a background player. That's fine. That's perfect. And then suddenly, like, I get two messages, one from Jordan Monsanto and one from Kevin at the same time, just like, you here? And I'm like, oh, thank God.
I matter.
Yeah, a little bit. But I will tell you that it also paid off because for the thing, there is a possibility you will see me in the movie. And for the thing that I was at, the first event that I did, all I can say is that I was sitting for about 4 hours. But where I was sitting, there is the principals, Jay and Silent Bob, and between them was Harley Quinn and her character. And then there were the other three members of the girl gang behind them. And I kid you not, so it's those three, these three, and then I'm directly behind, like I would be over the shoulder of Silent Bob and I can't remember the actress's name, and then me. So, and like literally the camera lens is, I'm looking right down the barrel. Oh, I'm not, because I'm having to look at an eye line.
Right.
So, so there was that, and there were other activities. We got on location like at 11 a.m. Didn't leave until 1:23 a.m.
Yeah,
I
believe it, man.
It was a long night, but it was an amazing experience. But the thing that I saw, not only was it cool, and if you follow me on Twitter, I've already like said all the cool stuff, but some of it I will reiterate right here, which is the part that I experienced most was, well, first of all, I'm not an actor, so I was just pissed scared I was going to ruin any take and have to have it redone.
Just, like, you sneeze in the middle of like dialogue or something.
Yeah, exactly. Or, it's like, oh, somebody wasn't clapping, and honest to God, one of them was me. But thankfully, everything's digital, so it's just like...
actually, I don't believe that my character would have been clapping at this point.
Yeah, I would have been a grumpy asshole like I always am.
This is the choice of an actor.
No, none of them were choices. But the thing that I did get out of this experience was the realization just how much everyone on the crew is making that movie. It may be Kevin's movie. He may be directing it. And he's even said this, but the words never really settled in until you see this. The assistant director, the DP,
totally.
The guys coordinating stunts, the people doing this, the people doing that. I mean, it takes a lot of dedication and patience and understanding.
Like a perfect example you already mentioned, like, there's so much going on that it can't just be up to Kevin to do everything, right? It's surrounding yourself with the people that can do those things without having to like pull away from what his expertise is, right?
Yeah.
And so like, no, Kevin didn't say, okay, Will, here's your eye line. I want you to stay on this the whole time. You know what I mean? Like that's what those people are doing to make, otherwise the film would never get done.
Right. And there was it really, it was just amazing. Now I do freely admit as well though that whenever when the crowd was getting ushered back up, I would find somebody to actively engage with, so that way I could just hang around and watch.
Yeah.
Because and at
why not?
At one point when we got back from lunch, I literally asked Jordan, I'm like, can I just hang downstairs? And she's like, cool. And like for a while I was watching the monitors that were outside of the shooting area.
Right, yeah.
And that was really cool. But again, it's like and even right down to craft people. There are people that have to come in and check the craft table to make sure stuff is there, because sure enough, like talent or somebody else on the crew is going to come in and they're going to need their fix for coffee or cold brew or a snack. And that stuff's got to be there. So I was amazed to see how much movies are this massive collaborative effort. I shouldn't have been. You'd think, So that's the reason why, folks, you stay and you read the credits, because you're showing respect to the people that put forth the effort to put this thing together for you, for your entertainment, to help distract you from the horrors of life itself and let you escape for 90 minutes or above in this hellish world we live in. What else was I was going to say? Oh, but there was one moment too later on in the day where the Smod Squad and myself, we were all pulled in. They adopted me, so I'm like, I think I'm an official member of the Smod. I'm maybe Smod Squad now, or I'm Smod Squad adjacent. I'm not sure.
You're. I think in MC terminology, you'd be a nomad at this point, right?
I don't what?
Like you're not affiliated with any one club, but you're part of the organization, so you're a nomad.
Okay, yeah, I'm down. I'm down with you. Man. All right. Sure. I got cred now, is what you're saying. But
yeah.
But I'm not part of the Wu-Tang, but anyway.
Yeah.
Horrible example. Never mind. But there was one moment too where we were pulled into background. So there's a lot of stuff going on in the background, obviously background players. And they're doing tight shots on certain things. And in one we were kind of behind this. And it was just this funny moment because we were all kind of getting into position, getting ready to do our thing. And like out of the darkness behind the camera and the lights, suddenly I hear Kevin say my name. We're like, Will Wilkins, take one step to the left. And I do. And then I hear, like, welcome to the movie business, or welcome to the movies. And it was at that one moment I realized that specifically I myself was, I wouldn't call it, but hey, look, I'm grasping at straws here.
Sure.
But that was the one brief moment I was directed by Kevin Smith in a Kevin Smith movie. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, you took direction from him.
It was just movement, direction, no motivation, but I got it.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
But it was really interesting to see him work too, because there was a lot of, obviously there was what was scripted, but because he's also the writer, he does a lot of, oh wait, try this, or give me this, give me this. But but again, like with the crew thing too, there's a lot of stuff where it's them doing something, and he'll ask a question. He's like, and they would fill him in on what it would be and how that ties into other stuff. And he's like, okay, yeah, perfect, I got that. This is wonderful. Yeah. And that's where you realize that it truly is like a village experience. It takes a village to make a movie, if you will. So it was a wonderful experience. Lots of great food, and then just beating the hell back out of NOLA as quick as I could, because I got a job and stuff, man.
It's crazy because like along the same time, friend of the program Carrie Lynn, who lives in the area, has been posting pictures of like the mock movies that was built, and like stuff that's just like down the street from her, like, and then to hear you talk about it, like, and see these images and all this stuff, like, it's surreal, man. It's wholly surreal. It's crazy to think that even just being so like objectively able to see these behind the scene things of something that I drove to Jackson, Wyoming to see the first iteration of this movie in 2001 when it debuted, right? Like to know that I'm this like able to see this much of it being made now, it's insane to me, man. Like, this is bonkers.
Yeah, it's a surreal experience, and the cool thing is that we live in this area where they're doing so many things. Like Josh Rouse was shooting all this behind the scenes stuff, and some of it they're using for the Road to Reboot on the YouTube channel.
So well produced, so well done.
Other bits are going to be specifically for the media release as behind the scenes featurettes.
Like the EPK stuff that'll come out with it.
Yeah, or extras on the disc, which is like, look, there are two things I love: extras on the disc, and the one thing I love and miss most are like director's commentaries. It seems like we don't get those anymore. Yeah,
well, I mean, it's way back in the day when we had Zach Knutson on the show, he talked about how that was his into like filmmaking was working on the extras stuff. And how it was dying out, and now it's all but gone.
Yeah, it's a bummer. Yeah, because now what they'll do is they'll just take a little behind the scenes footage, combine it with some interviews, and you see a lot of the same crap over and over again. And I hope we get back to the adding more stuff in as the incentive for buying things.
Yeah.
But it was amazing experience. I'm very thankful for it. It'll be cool that, regardless of the content of the movie, there's a point where my kids will be able to point at something and go like, yeah, that was my dad right there. if I'm visible, I don't know for a fact, but we were kind of chosen to seat where we were sitting because we were, I guess, hoping to be seen, and or the intention was for us to be seen. Yeah. And on the flip side too, like I've had to pull some things like from Clerks or from Strike Back. It's just special requests. It's not things for the movie, but like supporting things or reference things. And it was kind of cool. Like I pulled the end scenes with the character, like the action sequence with the actors' names at the end of Strike Back. So naturally, I pulled it all the way back and I started watching from the beginning. And like, I don't even know how I missed it, but there in the background of the Quick Stop are Brad and Chris, who used to run News Askew, and so it's like you see all these people that and it's like, well, now I'm going to be one of those people. That is really dope. And most importantly, this guy I like and respect and who I loosely call a friend, being able to see him still here and doing this was something really, really special. And the only regret that I have is that I couldn't bring you with me. That's the only thing I think.
Aw, thanks, man.
I mean, it would have been really nice to take my wife, but she doesn't like flying.
Sure.
And we got kids, but it would have been really cool if you were like part of the experience as well. But we've kind of been we've had a blessed life, I think. Like if you think about it, because we got to do the live NetHeads with Kevin at your
are you kidding me, dude?
Comic
Absolutely.
shop. We got to see the first 45 minutes of Tusk before it makes a left turn.
Pre-polished, pre-edited, yeah.
Yeah, so, we've there's a lot to be thankful for. And I'm glad that I got to do this. I wish you had been able to be part of the journey, but, hopefully when all is said and done, you can also live vicariously through the things I can talk about when I can talk about them. But right now I'm just pissed scared about what I can talk about.
Right. And let's be honest. If you're going to err on either side, you know which side to err on.
Caution?
Yes.
The side of sending you nude photos. No, that's not it, is it?
I didn't know that was on the table.
Well, it's not until I take the pictures. There we go. Anyway, man, I'm exhausted. I'm sure you are too. So let's wrap this boy up. Sorry, folks, no stinger after this one. We're just we're done. We are
cutting it.
We are through. But thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Always appreciate it. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm NetheadWW. He is a part of him. The show is NetHeads on Air, and we'll be back
soon.
This is NetHeads with Will Wilkins and Trent Hunsaker. Signing off. I know, right? But stop being a little Nancy and deal with it. NetHeads. NetHeads. We'll be back soon.
Goodbye.
This has been a production of Smodco Internet Radio. Sir, only at smodcast.com.